Move. Camera. Let's take Brio. Hello. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Do we have sound now? Is there still no sound? Oh, wonderful. Perfect. We are here. Isn't that amazing? Because the whole thing today is about letting go of the past. Now, if you can't let go of the past, then things that happen that are outside your familiar framework of experiencing reality will cause you to be upset and frustrated, right? And that's something that can be easily avoided by being in the present moment. Because in the present moment, you function very differently than you do from your past present. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for being so patient with the technical issues. I'm still obviously learning a few things, but today is about letting go of the past. And my guardian angel John said it's really important we articulate this, understanding this concept. It's very, very important. So there's no coincidence that the sound blocked out for that first segment, for the first 3 to 4 minutes that we were on. So we're going to repeat that for you. Humanity is a united family with different aspects, different branches in the human family that we call different races. We're still part of the same family, the human family, designed to be a united species working together, like the 5 fingers on the hand. All the 5 races of humanity are meant to work together, right? And when we begin to do that deliberately and consciously, we liberate ourselves in a way that's never been experienced before since the fall of Eden 72,000 years ago. Every single race on the planet has had a kick at the can of being the enslaver and being the enslaved. Every race has experienced that process. And the emotions that were created from those experiences have been carried forward. And so we continue to repeat those old behavioral patterns because of old emotional patterns. Remember, all emotion generates a behavior to some degree or extent. You can be resistant to expressing behavior. So if somebody triggers anger for you, you can hold yourself back from being angry. You can deliberately do that, but most people don't. The vast majority of people get locked into the emotional energy and they play it out. And we saw that playing out with the riots, and we've seen that playing out with the enslavement of the Hebrews and the enslavement of the black people and the destruction of the native cultures in the last couple hundred years. We've seen how these emotions play out. These emotions for fear, control, and power. And until we release them from within ourselves, we continue to repeat those things. That happens on an individual scale as it does on a cultural scale and on a collective unconsciousness scale. So we have to release these negative emotions of fear and anger, guilt, and shame from our unconsciousness as a species and as individuals so that we don't keep replaying them again and again and again. We've been to this place in society on 6 significant occasions over the last 72,000 years. And each time we've gotten to this place, opportunities were presented where we had the opportunity to release our fear, to release our judgment, to release our anger, to release our guilt, to release our desire to be in control and power. All of those things are based in a fundamental emotion called fear. Fear that you might harm me, fear that something might harm me. Always a root of fear. Something's going to happen to us. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so I'm being told right now that all fear is fundamentally necessary for your body, but is unnecessary for your soul and that which you are. All fear is fundamentally unnecessary for your soul. It was only necessary for your body to get you to this stage where you may assume authority over it. It is not the dominion over others that you require to find fulfillment in your life. It is the dominion over your own physical organism that you must acquire control over in order to find the liberation that you seek in your life. For if you are liberated from the suffering and the pain that your body continues to remind you might happen, when you are free of that, you will have no need to inflict suffering on another when you have none inside of yourself. To liberate yourself from that suffering deliberately and intentionally is a very simple process of being aware of when it is there and then refusing to indulge in it or to act upon it. We have spoken about this in many occasions with all of you, but to understand that this works in the individual as equally as it does in the entire group, your entire species. It is important to become mindful of the distinction between yourself as a sentient consciousness here to have an experience in this material realm and the very physical organism that you used to acquire your experience in this physical realm. Do not confuse your identity with the needs of the body or the desires of its senses. Do not confuse what you require to find fulfillment with the requirements of your body. Identify the fundamental things that your body needs and fulfill those, but all else beyond that, that which is unnecessary, that which is derived from fear, and this is everything including the acquisition of unnecessary wealth, the destruction of other life forms for the sake of personal protection, the destruction of organic matter anywhere on the planet for the sake of personal acquisition of material, seeks only to diminish and debase yourself further into the confines, the causes, and the effects of matter themselves. And now you find yourself as a species trying to solve the problems of this world from the world itself, and you cannot do this. You can only resolve these concerns that you have from a perspective that is not of this world. And that is what you are, a sentient being of soul awareness, of infinite intelligence, an aspect of that has come here to realize this practical expression of yourself and liberate your awareness from the flesh and liberate your flesh from suffering, so that you may begin to move towards the extended capabilities you have as an explorative species. Okay. Do not keep yourself entrenched in your past. There are things that we will cover today that will enable you to liberate yourself from your past very quickly. Interesting, you said fast. Okay, so let's get into this a bit. We spend a lot of time every day thinking about the future or remembering the past, and where most of our suffering comes is we're stuck remembering the pains of our past. There are cultures on this planet, entire cultures, the native culture being the most, the native and black communities being the most obvious cultures, where in recent memory, in our actual recent memory, great harm was done to them from the basis of fear. And the fear was that somebody else wanted something because they were afraid they might not have enough, and they took what they thought they would get to feel fulfilled, but they've never found fulfillment, and the destructions continued. The cultures, these two specific cultures, are suffering emotionally as a collective. Emotion as a collective based on what has been done to them. And the memories, the emotion of those memories, it's important to have memory. Don't get me wrong, it's important that we have memory to remember certain things so that we don't repeat things. But it's the emotion behind a memory that causes any of our family members in the human family to behave in a certain way. Cultures and individuals require an emotion, either on an individual level or on the scale of the full culture. In this case, we're dealing with now collective unconsciousness, where we've got some people in positions of authority, some people in positions of subservience, but the principle of fear is what maintains these separate positions, these separations in consciousness, because that's what they are. They're not just separations in wealth, they're separations in consciousness, that the fear that's possessed by the consciousness of one or the other maintains the condition in which each is. Okay, so simple ways of becoming aware of when you are finding yourself being driven by fear. Whenever you find yourself being driven by fear, you need to learn to stop it. You need to actually learn to stop the expressions of fear in your own mind. There's a simple way to do this that we've learned and we've taught. And the first thing is to become aware of it. Remember, every emotion you're ever going to experience is going to cause a behavior. So if I, for example, if I was remembering how I was abused as a child by my step-parent and what that felt like, because I used to do that for a number of years. I used to remember how I thought my life was the way it was because of what happened to me. If that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be the way I was then. Um, that lasted up until I was about 25, 26 years old, where those emotions were governing how I was thinking and feeling all the time because of that event. And it was when I began to release the emotion, and I moved into what I call a place of forgiveness, not towards what he did, but within myself, to let go of my judgment, which was my anger, my fear, my guilt, my shame, which was affecting me more because it caused me to behave in ways that got me into trouble, made me drink alcohol, got me into drugs. All kinds of stuff happened because of the emotions I was feeling because I didn't want to feel them. As you learn to release those emotions and not be governed by them, and you're going to have to learn a process that's called meditation. And it's not that complex. It's really simple. Learning to just sit and keep your body quiet and still, keep your mind quiet and still long enough until it starts to listen to you and starts to obey you again. Because remember, my body remembered what it was like to be attacked and assaulted over a period of years. It remembered that. And so I was always in a very mistrusting state, that anxiety, that fear that might happen again. Your body remembers everything it experienced. Your body remembers everything it experienced, including if you were given up for adoption as a baby, including if at age 2 a pot of boiling water fell on your hand. Your body remembers everything. You aren't consciously aware of everything your body remembers, but you can access that with certain training. You can access deep-seated memories that the body has. The body remembers everything. So regardless of what age a trauma happened, the body remembers, and most people relate to the world through their body as if the body is who you are. It's not. The body is the instrument that you use to express yourself through. But because it's got this system of self-preservation hardwired into it that says whatever you can do, you must survive. And you can watch this in nature. Animals will do crazy things to survive. They, run down the sides of mountains. I've watched this. And your body is hardwired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. So anything that's ever caused it discomfort, it's going to be inclined to avoid. Or anything that might remind it that it's going to experience discomfort, it will avoid. And so even though somebody comes up to you and says, I'm lost, and it suddenly triggers a memory that you were lost in a grocery store when you were 7 years old and you couldn't find your mom and she was gone, and it's just the terror and fear you felt, and suddenly you want to avoid this person. Suddenly you're feeling uncomfortable with this person that you're saying you're lost, and you might not even know why you're feeling uncomfortable. And you might not even remember what caused the discomfort. But letting go of the past is very simple. We're going to do that, do a little exercise that in a couple minutes. But first, we're going to take a few questions. But letting go of the past, as a collective consciousness, humanity has to learn to let go of its past. We cannot progress any further as a collective species until we release the past. But that also requires a level of accountability for people that are not choosing to do that. In order for anybody to be abusive or aggressive towards another, it requires within themselves that abuse and aggression is going on within them on some level. On a fundamental level, they've been conditioned from experience that that's how they survive. That's how they survive. And I know to some people it might be difficult to understand, but it's very true. That your body is designed to survive, and it remembers things. So, somebody got beaten very badly there by their parents when they were very young. So they grow up realizing that the only way to protect themselves from that is to do that. So they become the body becomes according to the conditions that will allow it to survive most efficiently. And it's much easier to survive when you're on top of somebody versus when you're being assaulted by them. The body remembers those things. It will do whatever it can to maintain its survival. So we have to learn to transcend the impulses of the body. And the second step is learning to let go of the emotions that are stored in the body from our past. So bear that in mind. So letting go of the past. I was reluctant to talk about this today. John said it was really important that we did, because it's a touchy subject in a time where what the world needs now is love. More than anything else, the vibration of love is necessary to transcend the vibration of fear. And there's lots of people stepping up out there. I watched that beautiful, peaceful protest in New York City with thousands of people, and they peacefully protest. So we're seeing an emergence of a new consciousness. And if we can see that more consistently, we'll begin a paradigm shift, right? And that's what's going on right now, this whole ascension process, why all our angels and guides and these multidimensional beings are coming to so many of us right now, is because we are making this paradigm shift, and we've asked for support. We're to connect. When you connect to love, you connect to energies of love, including beings on the frequencies of love, whether in body or not in body. So remember that as we're going through this, we're creating a paradigm shift. And we're going to also discuss a few things that are going to be happening this month. We're going to be doing another live global meditation for restoring peace and love to all of humanity, regardless of who they are, regardless of what they've done, restoring love to all of humanity, because anybody who's done something that's harmed another has an emotional energy in them that they're not aware of that drives them to behave that. All human behavior originates from an emotion. All human behavior originates from an emotion. An emotion can be caused from an external trigger. Emotional can be caused because of something you think. Emotion can be caused because of something that happens to your body. But all human behavior is a result of an emotion. There's no escaping that reality. Every one of us is amenable to that reality. We are in that process until we become aware of it and begin to change it consciously and deliberately. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to do some questions and answers. I'm going to scroll way back up. So I got sound back. I'm glad that we got that sorted out. That was fun. But when things like that happen, when things don't happen the way they're supposed to, how you handle the moment. I mean, I restarted this twice, and it was fun for me to do that because I love walking through that process of self-mastery where something outside of my control does not cause me to feel or act in ways that I wouldn't choose to. And that takes practice because, you look at how everybody felt about that gentleman who was kneeled on by the police officer. That brought out a lot of pain and anger that everybody has inside them. It wasn't just about him. That reminded everybody that got involved of their own pain and suffering. And they want to get rid of that pain. So the way they want to get rid of the pain, the way most people try to get rid of their suffering is to try and find out what's causing it out there. But most of our pain and suffering is caused from within, right? Whatever caused that man to kneel down on the other man, what was going on in him emotionally is a good question. And this is not considered or weighed very effectively in the process of law or in the process of the mental health sciences, that what emotions do a person needs to release in order to liberate themselves from behaviors that are just self-destructive. Once you liberate yourself from an emotion that's self-destructive, the behavior stops. It's gone. Once the emotion is released from the system, the behavior is not going to be there anymore. It's just not. I know that very well from personal experience. So let's scroll up. Yes, all is well. It is. Hi, Giovanna. Does Buddha have guidance for me? Thank you. It's funny you mentioned Buddha. What did he say to me early this morning? It was, oh my goodness. It was really. He told me to write it down, and I didn't write it down. Something. What was it you said? It was just in the middle of my meditation. It was about being. It'll come back to me in the right time, Giovanna. But that's what it was for you, obviously. That's probably why he told me to write it down. So it will come back. Question. Oh, hi, Courtney. Welcome. Hi, Carolyn. Good morning. Lysandra's asking, I had a dream that I said, I want to talk to my guide, and he called me on the phone, and I hear him. Was that real? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason it's real, remember, your brain and your mind, because you're identified with it, can only relate to things it doesn't comprehend from what it knows. In other words, your brain, your mind, your memory, your ego, your personality knows that communication can happen with a phone. So it's going to represent an experience that it doesn't comprehend from its own senses in a manner that makes sense to it. So yes, that happened. If you want to, I'm getting word that if you want to, you can go back to the memory of that experience and drop the imagery and move into the feeling that was there. So drop the visual memories that your brain gave you and go into the feeling that was there with the communication, and you'll have a deeper understanding of what energy your guide was imparting to you and for what reason. Because when you experience it from vibration, it's different than when you experience it through the reinterpretation of your mind, which is what happened there. Your mind just reinterpreted what it couldn't understand at the level it's capable of. Remember, your body and your mind and your five senses can only represent information at the level that they're at. That's why it's so important to cultivate your awareness as separate and distinct from the body as an awareness, but that you are still in command of it. But that point of awareness where you realize you're not governed by the 5 physical senses, you can perceive different things beyond your 5 physical senses, and that requires a bit of training. But it's not as difficult, and you don't have to spend 20 years doing it on a mountaintop. Lysandra, what is his name? I don't know. The name Derek first popped into my mind. As soon as you said that, the name Derek just went boop right in my head. Yep, Derek. Yes, they don't all have really funky names. Some of them have really normal names, like my guardian angel John. Minaj is asking, in my last job, I had a boss who tried his best to make me suffer and finally had me fired. What could I have done differently to prevent my suffering at his hands and my firing? The simple question is, and that's a great question because it's very relevant to letting go of the past. The fact that you're bringing that story up tells us very clearly that you're still attached to the suffering that you felt as a result of what occurred then. We would recommend that you sit down, dear one, and you find that place of suffering inside yourself and you release it from you. You extend your love and compassion to that part of you that suffers and let it know that you will take care of it. Release that suffering, transcend it, transform it. For if you do not, you'll repeat that again and again and again. For whatever you hold in your house becomes a guest that you will live with. Whatever that emotion may be, fear or anger, guilt or shame. Whatever you hold in your house will be a guest that will live with you in your world. Yep. Lori has a question. What is the name of my guardian angel, and do they have a message for me, please? I'm getting the words not yet. Not yet. Something about sunlight, something about light, something about light that you have to sit in the you have not sat in the light. I don't know what that means, but my brain interprets that to mean go find a place in the sunlight where you can sit down and ask that question again, but ask them directly. But they're saying not yet from me, but for you to go into the sunlight, right? Question, what to do or avoid to help stay focused? Katya is asking, what can I do to avoid to help myself stay focused? This is a really great question. Again, the only reason you're not going to be focused is 2 reasons. One, you're caught up in memories of the past being in the present. You're caught in a past present, or you're caught in a future past. In other words, you're wondering about what's going to happen in the future. And you want to get back into the present moment. The kingdom of God is here and now. It's right now. All of them say this. It's not anywhere else. Getting your body and your mind into the present moment is the gateway to the kingdom of heaven. Getting your body and mind into the present moment so it's completely surrendered to being quiet, still, and peaceful. And when you experience more and more of that peace, and you'll actually start to hear different information, you'll actually open up to different awarenesses, different beings that are available to us all. But you cannot hear until you still your mind. All you're going to ever hear is what you remember or what you think might happen. So sit your body down. And I do this every day, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day as needed. Anytime my mind gets overactive or overexcited, I stop, I sit the body down, I breathe slowly and deeply, I quiet my thoughts, and I continue to do that until my body and mind are completely quiet and still. And once you've got your body and mind quiet and still, that's when you can begin to hear. That's when you can begin to create. That's when you can begin to communicate to the masters, to your guides, to your angels. But you cannot hear them when you got so much noise going on in your head. So that's a simple solution. That's what I've learned to do. That's what they taught me to do consistently. As long as you have doubt about whether you'll move into a different country, Vanessa, you will not. If you decide to, you will. That's what they're saying. If you decide to, you will. It really is like it's a free will zone. And do not let if you're allowing your fear to play into your decision-making process, you will make decisions that will create more of the discomfort you're seeking to avoid. And a lot of people make decisions and function from their past in the present. They're living their past present. They're living past thoughts, past memories, past beliefs in the present moment, unaware that there is a present moment where there's amazing peace, incredible bliss, freedom of awareness. Learn to let, Master Jesus says, keep saying this, let the dead bury the dead. That is the past. Let the emotions and memories of the past, let them go. That does not mean you don't need memory to learn how to hold a glass and drink water. It does not mean you won't have memory to write with. But when you release negative emotions from your system, you will not lose your past memories. You will have greater memory. When you learn to release negative emotions from your mind and body, you will have greater memory. You'll remember things. I remember crawling around when I was like 17 months old, playing with little bugs in the backyard, crawling around in a diaper. I remember that. And the more you start to clear your mind of the emotions, the more memory you start to have. It is the emotions that block people, especially if they're negative emotions, because your body is designed to avoid pain. So even if it's an internal emotional memory that's causing an emotional pain from the past, the body will cause a block. There'll be a chemical block. So you won't be able to remember because those emotions are blocking it. But once you start to release the emotional charge, then your memory becomes available to you. So I can remember all of the events that happened to me through my childhood, or the vast majority of them anyway at this point in time. And yet I don't have the emotional fear and anger and guilt and shame that used to be connected to them. So I've got that available to me. There's nothing in my system to feels that it has to protect itself from the past once you release old emotional energies from the system. And we teach this in our mediumship courses, our mediumship 102 courses, all about how to release yourself from your attachment to the past emotions. There's actual simple things. We're going to do a short thing in a couple minutes. I'm just going to check our time here because we got started a little bit late. It's only maybe a 5-minute thing, but it'll be enough to give you a taste of what happens. Question from Kate, please. Can you advise recently? My kidneys have been hurting worse today. No blood or pain when weeing. I started using a water distiller in the new year. Today, have done herbal tea, kidney tea. Let's see. It's funny. Salt. I get salt. You're not getting enough salt. Yes. Get proper salt. Don't just get table salt. Nobody should be using regular iodized table salt. If you're going to be using salt, use Celtic sea salt. It's the salt that they told me to use. It's got 84 primary trace minerals in it. Your body needs more salt than you realize. And if it's not getting enough salt, it can cause dysfunction in different parts of the body, not to mention dehydration, other things. You need salt to retain the right amount of fluid balance. So do a little bit of research on what the right ratio of salt is for your body size and body mass. There's a certain amount. There's lots of information on YouTube. You can find if you do search on proper amounts of salt for your body, but don't use table salt. Use like Celtic sea salt or true pink Himalayan sea salt, because there's a lot of fakes out there now. But I use Celtic salt because it's got 2 more trace minerals than pink Himalayan. But yeah, I get that you need to increase your salt. I'm glad you saw that, Louise. That happens a lot when things don't go the way I think they're supposed to go. They've been really training me hard to not get caught up in all the stuff. Like, it's all okay. Like, it's going to unfold in the perfect order. And that's exactly what begins to happen. When your emotions are no longer allowed to govern your actions and you're able to stay in the present moment, it changes everything. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So there's nothing going wrong in my life anymore. There's just a process of growth and transformation that's a direct result of the level of consciousness I'm aspiring to align with. When I align with these beings that I'm working with and they're working with me, there are changes in what happens in my biology and mental framework that has to occur to allow greater ideas and information to flow freely through into this dimension. You want your body and your mind to be aligned so clearly to these beings that you have less resistance in your system to articulating the information without restriction, right? And that's been a gradual process over the last 2 years for me, as I've gained more and more experience with not allowing my emotions to incline my speech or incline my actions. As you get more and more articulated that way, you have more information available to you. So the same way as you're releasing your emotions from the past, from your body and mind, has the same effect as allowing you to receive more information from your memory, but also more information from the present moment, because the present moment contains an awareness of all consciousness, all experience, throughout all eternity, throughout all creation. It all exists within the present moment. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's right. Emotional mastery, letting go of the past. Kai Davis, any message for me today? Feeling too much love today. Okay. No, not getting one there. Question from Betsy: can John send us all a blessing? Oh, absolutely. He's good. He's really happy you asked that. Hang on a second. So we're going to do this. Okay. He says he wants it to be relevant to what we're doing. So he wants you all to pick a particular emotion that has you've struggled with, and a negative emotion that you struggle with most of your life, that you remember, whether it's fear or guilt or shame or anger. He wants you to choose an emotion you struggled with all of your life. This is the blessing he wants to give you. So take a moment, choose an emotion that you want to release from your body and from your mind. Right? Just decide what that emotion is, and take a moment to find where you feel that emotion is most in your body. Do you feel that emotion is more in your head? Do you feel that emotion is more in your heart or in your arms, your legs, or does it feel like it's your whole body? Just note where you are aware of that emotion. Now, close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax. Give all the muscles permission to relax. And now, allow your awareness to surround your emotion that you've chosen to release. Allow your awareness to surround the emotion you've chosen to release. With your awareness around this emotion, we want you to communicate the following statement to this emotion. And it is simply this: no matter what I have thought or felt or believed about you, I love you, even if I do not understand you. And repeat this statement with us again, with a tone of voice that sounds like you truly mean these words, sensing that emotion again. No matter what I've thought or felt or believed about you, I love you, even if I do not understand you. And I'm willing to love you more. Feel how the emotion responds to your statement. No matter what I've thought or felt or believed about you, I love you, even if I do not understand you. And I will love you even more. And just allow the vibration of our words and your words to interact with that energy, that emotion you chose, and feel its response. And repeat that phrase one more time to that emotion, if there's any of it left. No matter what I've thought or felt or believed about you, I love you, even if I do not understand you. And I'm willing to love you more. Feel the vibration of those words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word became manifest. No matter what I've thought or felt or believed about you, I love you, even if I do not understand you. And I'm willing to love you more. Now, he wants me to explain that the key thing here is when you use the mantra he's given us, when you use that, you want to use an internal tone of voice. You can speak it or think it, but make certain the internal tone or the verbal tone sounds sincere, because you're communicating to an emotional energy that's stored in your body. And when you communicate with a vibration that's sincere, the body interprets it as real. Much the same way as your body would interpret, me having a lemon in my hand torn into 2 drippy pieces. And if I were able to suddenly reach this lemon through and have you lick this lemon with your mouth, those of you that are imagining doing that, find your mouth salivating, including me, must understand then that your body cannot distinguish between an imaginary or a real. And so you must use that talent that it has to interpret reality in any way as real. So when you use a proper tone, you're instilling that energy into the consciousness of the body and will feel it as if it is real, as if it were the lemon you were licking. And it's important, please write in the comment section the transformation or change you felt in the degree and intensity of that emotion. You may repeat this process whenever a negatively charged emotion comes up from your past, or something in the present stimulates that past to come back into the present. You can use this process with those emotions at any time. Yes, thank you. Very fascinating. Thank you for that suggestion, Betsy. That was a really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful suggestion. I'm feeling even more grounded than I was before. And you also brought about the very event that this was all about today, releasing and transforming past emotions. It's so important, understanding that process it's so simple. That's the beautiful thing about it. We get into such ridiculous complexity about thinking what it means to heal that you have to go through all these years of therapy and unwind all this pain from them. No, you don't have to do that. I did that route when I was younger. That didn't work. It just perpetuated, elongated, prolonged it. I got moments of relief, but ultimately when I found out that I could actually interact, when it was revealed to me that I could interact with my emotions differently than I'd been taught that I could, that's when real significant change came in my own spiritual evolution, and also in my own mental and physical evolution too. Because when you change an emotion in the body, it changes the body. When you change an emotion in your mind, it changes your mind. And when you change those two together into with a vibration of love, you literally open doorways into this time space that the vibration will allow. Love will allow different things to manifest in your experience than fear or anger or guilt or shame. Fear, anger, guilt, and shame will only allow things that match it to show up in our reality. And there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of guilt and shame in our collective unconsciousness, and we perpetuate it because we keep trying to say it's out there's causing it. No, we have to release it from within ourselves first, as individuals and as a collective. That's why we're going to do this meditation coming up, a world peace and love meditation we'll be doing here live on my YouTube channel. I'll post a thing up for it in the subsequent days. On the 20th day of June at 8 o'clock at night. It's actually 20th of June. The hour is 2020 Eastern Standard Time at the 20th minute. We're going to start the actual live with a preamble at 8 p.m. on the 20th of this month. So it's the 20th this month at 2020 is the official meditation, but we will be starting the live 20 minutes prior at 8 p.m. and that will be on the 20th of June. Right. And there's going to be a bunch of other groups around the planet that are doing this. I was invited to do this through our channel because there are other groups doing it as well. So we're coordinating this at that time to really lift up humanity, to really put that vibration into collective unconsciousness. Because even what you do to yourself, that little exercise we all just did with transforming and transmuting that with John, we're doing that work with him. When you do that transformational process, you affect your energy, but your energy also affects the people you're connected to. They begin to change. Go into a room where people are laughing and smiling and they're so joyful and upbeat, and you feel that energy coming from them, right? And you find yourself wanting to get in. You see people dancing, you want to, there's certain principles of energy that function that we must become conscious of as individuals and as a collective species in order to affect a significant shift in our consciousness and our conditions on this planet. I don't want to do another planetary reset because we can't manage our emotions. We're more than capable of doing that. We're evolved enough. The knowledge is available. It's just getting it out there to everybody. So yeah, join us on that meditation. It'll be a lot of fun. Trish, I'm going to answer that because it's important. Are we guides? Are we guides to other beings as we are guided? Absolutely. Absolutely. There is not one of us in all of creation that is separate from all of us in all of creation. Anything that any one of us thinks, feels, says, and does goes into the collective field and influences and affects time, space, and matter. And that affects and alters the courses and activities of other beings on many levels. When you move into a vibration of love, there's a frequency you transmit that not only affects your mind and body, it affects the minds and bodies of other people, but it also affects the energy of beings that are on a non-physical plane that are responsive to that frequency of energy, right? That are responsive to that frequency of energy. So yes, Trish, that's a great question. Thank you. Okay. Wonderful. So yeah, I will, right? I'm just going down and see if there's any more questions here. Lydia, they should not be called protests. They should be called the assertion of love into human consciousness. They should not be they're called the insertion. They should be called, these are expressions of dignity, expressions of love, expressions of caring. These are expressions of unity. This is what they should be. They should not be called protests. Protests has a vibration to it that implies conflict. The very nature of the word protests implies conflict. It should be expressing or articulating our values, our love, our compassion, our understanding, our wisdom, seeking to receive that from you. We're extending love. We're coming to you to communicate. We're not coming to you to make you do something. We're coming to you to communicate. Let's communicate. I'm certainly, if somebody knocks on the door and has got a big smile on their face and they want to talk to me, I'm more likely to answer than someone's at the door knocking on my door like this, right? Not going to be would that be inviting communication? I want to talk to you right now. Come talk to me. That's not very inviting. That doesn't open up a dialogue. You've immediately established an energy that presumes there's going to be some form of conflict. Organizations of expressions of love, of compassion, of peace, that's why they should be called demonstrations of peace, a demonstration of love, a demonstration of unity. Remove the word protest. If people remove that word and call them demonstrations of love, demonstrations of communication, demonstrations of peace, demonstrations of kindness and compassion, of unity, we would be generating a very different group energy in these events. The one that happened in New York was a good example where somebody clearly got clear on the idea that we're marching for peace. Martin Luther King did that. He marched for peace and for civil rights. He marched for liberation. He marched for unity. And he got results. And we have to change the paradigm. If we're going to expect people that are holed up in their high towers because they're afraid of the masses, or people in the masses that are afraid of people in the high towers, well, that's not going to work very well. We have to come from a perspective of love, communication, compassion, and kindness on all levels. And somebody has to do it first. Somebody has to be a demonstration of that. You have to demonstrate that which you wish to experience. You want to experience more unity, then demonstrate unity. Don't go out to protest. She's not going to catch COVID-19. The worst thing she'll catch is a flu. And it's not likely to happen anyway. All that stuff is just part of our emotional paradigm. We can only attract into our experience what we feel and think and believe. If I'm afraid something's going to happen to me, my behavior, my thoughts, my actions will be governed around that emotion, will cause that self-fulfilling prophecy, they call it. Emotion creates events. Emotion organizes matter into events. So get into more peace, get into more joy. Go out and demonstrate love. Go out and demonstrate unity. Demonstrate a desire. We want to communicate with you. Let's sit down and come. Let's sit and talk. You know, the natives had that. You know, they had a talking stick where each person had a chance to voice and air their concerns and considerations. Wonderful tool, right? It's a wonderful tool. But we have to develop a mechanism between 5 million people and 200 people that they've been hired into government to represent them. Well, there should be really healthy communication there, right? But again, if it's done in the context of being a protest, it's not going to demonstrate anything more than violence at some point. If it's there to demonstrate an extension of peace, a demonstration of an extension of love, a demonstration to enhance and improve communication between all peoples, then we're going to get a very different result in our physical reality. And that's really important. Communicate that to your daughter. Make sure she's going not to protest. Make sure she's going there to demonstrate compassion and kindness and caring and respect for one another. Isn't that really what it's about? This whole thing, this officer doing this, isn't this really the opportunity for us to say, no, we want to demonstrate that we are a species of compassion and kindness and love. And we're coming out to remind you that this is what we want to be. We want to be compassionate and loving and understanding. And we want you to join us in that. And look at all the law enforcement officers that have gone to the knee to join us. There are lots of people that want to join in a vibration of love and unity and compassion and peace. But not a lot of people want to join to fight for peace. It doesn't work. It never has. You can't fight and get peace. I'm sorry. You can't fight for love. You can't fight for peace. You can't fight for... It doesn't work. It's a lie. It's an illusion. The only thing you can do is you can demonstrate love, peace, compassion, joy, communication. That's what we need to be doing. If you're going to go, you tell her to go out. You can tell her to go out and do that, to remind people they should be going out and demonstrating love, demonstrating compassion, demonstrating communication, demonstrating peace, demonstrating joy, demonstrating unity. That's what we have to get to as a species, right? Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Wow. Sorry, the joy I feel inside when they put that kind of energy through me is great. And it is. Isn't that the truth, right? I think I got enough time for 2 more questions, and then we're going to call it a day. Even though we got started late, I got other things that I have to honor as well. Wow. Letting go of the past. Let us say this, that it is much easier to do than you realize. You just have to stop, be present, be still, and consider what would be of greater benefit to you now. What would be of greater benefit to you now? Love. Yeah, and please practice that thing that John just did. And thank you, Betsy, for bringing that up. Also, if anybody wants to question from Katya, you're asking why your foot and ankle hurts so much. You have to let go of your anger and frustration with certain things you just can't stand being around and experiencing. There's an emotion you've got stored in your ankle that's causing that condition. You have to release the emotion. Stop trying to get rid of the pain. Go into it. Put your hands around your ankle and tell the pain how much you want to care for it and love it. Stop being frustrated with it. Every time, it's like if a child is hurt their knee, if a child hurts their knee, would you go up and say, stop bothering me, stop crying at me because your knee? Would you do that to a child? Why would you do that to your body? Your body is a child, and you just happen to inhabit it. So give love to your ankle. Like, stop and give it love. Like, really give it love until that pain feels you mean it. It'll change. It will. It's law. Also, I want to thank my Patreon supporters for the support. If you want to support my work, you can go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/WilliamMichaelForbes, and receive special offers. You can be entered into our monthly draw to win a free reading with me. We do that draw at the beginning of the first day of every month. You can also get invited to the live Q&A for patron members only on the 7th of every month at 7 p.m. And it's just exclusive for patrons. And you can also get your questions answered. One question a month answered from my guides and angels. Also, courses and classes. If you want to learn how to connect your guides and angels, you want to learn to bring divine information through you, it's available to all of us. We're not special in any way. We've just developed certain senses, certain awarenesses that allow us to bring information through. All mediums, all psychics are in that process at different stages of developing that. We have a course that will teach you step by step on how to begin to open up your non-physical senses, your clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, to begin to develop those non-physical senses, like Master Jesus talks, seeing without eyes, hearing without ears. That's what it is, about developing these extra senses so that you can connect to different realms of awareness and consciousness and begin to connect them. And if you want to know more about their courses and classes, you can go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, and you can register there when you get there and get all the information you need. If you've got any questions or concerns, you can connect to me through my my website as well. Also, if you're wanting to really get some information from your guides and angels, book a reading with me. You can do that from my website as well. And I want to again thank you for being so patient at the beginning of this with the sound process, but maybe throw little things like that in once in a while just to make certain I'm staying on the game of being in the present moment. Remember, that little exercise, as simple as it might seem, if you go deeper into it, you're going to liberate yourself from a lot of unnecessary suffering, and you restore yourself to who you truly are in the present moment. So I want to say much love to everybody. Wish you an awesome, a joyful day, and we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.